Hey yo, you know how invested I am in this case, as much as I'm very far away, but you know, my heart goes out to the people that hurt and that face injustice, and I can't let this pass. I landed on this, and literally, this lady is justifying the death of Sonya Massey. And in the first place, when I was watching, my mouth dropped, my eyes bugged. I could not believe what I was listening to. And honestly, let me tell you this. When I looked at this video and everything that this lady was saying, instantly something clicked that this is what it means to live and dwell with demons amongst us. And I don't know if you believe that, but from what I have listened to on here, oh my goodness, I do believe that we have demons that live in human flesh, and any moment they get a chance to manifest, they really manifest. And I am not saying all of this because the person that is saying this is white. Demons can inhabit any vessel as long as it is empty. Don't look for her because again, these people, most of what these demons be looking for is engagement, because to them life is not as you and I view it, that it is precious and that it is a gift and that it is supposed to be preserved at all cost, and that anything that is aiming to take a life should really be condemned. I don't want to say so much. Watch this. I'm gonna come back and give a bit of my take about this.
So this video may ruffle some feathers. I don't care. I think that it needs to be discussed. And so Sonya Massey was a black woman who was shot and killed in her home by police. She actually called the police herself because she thought that there was an intruder outside of her home. So there's body camera footage, at least from the one officer. One officer did not turn his body camera on until after. The one officer did have his body camera on the whole time. So yes, there are some issues with that, but that really doesn't have any bearing on how this played out. So she called them. They came, they searched, they couldn't find anybody or locate anybody, and they were actually getting ready to go when they saw a vehicle parked in her driveway. I'm not sure all of the details surrounding that. Ultimately, I know they began to ask her about it, and they actually entered her home at that point and asked her for some identification. Again, I don't really know all of the specifics behind that, but it was still a very light conversation. She was responding to them, talking to them. They were talking and having a normal conversation. There was no indication of what was about to unfold. So the body camera footage, I mean, it's not all direct. This is coming in bits and pieces, but eventually it gets to the point where you see her standing up and there's a pot of boiling water on her stove. So I'm sure you guys have seen the videos. I don't have a video to link into this right now. I may try to, but so the cop tells her to go shut the boiling water off because he doesn't want a fire to happen. To which she replies, okay. So she goes over there and she shuts the stove off. At this point, she picks up the pot of boiling water, and she begins to walk with it towards the cops. And the cop asks her, what are you doing? Still in a lighthearted manner. And at this point, she's still walking in their direction, and you can see the cop on the body camera turn. He takes his front side away from her, and she's like, why are you turning? And he's like, because I don't want hot water to the face. And at that point, she says, I rebuke you. You can't really hear it too well, but that's what the transcripts say in news articles. And so he's like, huh? And at that point, she says, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. He said, you better fucking not. And at that point, they draw their guns. At that point, She puts her hand up. So there's a counter, an island in between her and the cops. At this point, the pot is back on the counter. She puts her hands up, and the cops have their weapon saying, I will shoot you in your face, because she just had the pot of water rebuking them, which can all be considered acts of aggression, and that pot of boiling water can be considered a weapon. So a pot of water, boiling hot water, can be considered a weapon that can cause very serious and permanent damage to somebody and could potentially result in death if they get second or third degree burns and those turn septic and cause an infection. So first, that is the first weapon that she had in her hands. Like I said, she was walking towards the cops. There was absolutely no reason that she needed to take this pot of boiling water and walk with it off the stove. She could have just pushed it onto a different burner. She could have just set it on the counter and left it there, set it in the sink. She did not need to walk in the direction of the cops. So that is considered the weapon. She told them, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus, while coming with them with this boiling hot pot of water. Okay, that could be considered an act of aggression, which is why the cops drew their weapons. At this point, no shots have been fired. So she then has a weapon drawn, and he says, I will shoot you in your face. Okay, so at this point, she is visibly scared. She sets down the pot of water and she puts her hands up. She still has oven mitts on. At this point, and this is the key crucial point, you guys, she then ducks. She ducks down below the counter to where you can no longer see her. On the body camera, you can no longer see her or her hands, okay? That is a huge no-no with the cops, especially when they have their guns drawn. You do not take your hands out of sight. They need to make sure that you do not have a weapon in your hands. So right there, when she ducked down and they could no longer see her hands and no longer determine that she was not a threat and did not have a weapon, they had every right to exercise deadly force how they did. If she would have just froze and she would have just stayed still, she probably would be alive today. And if she wasn't, then that is when cold-blooded murder occurs. But right now, the facts of the case are still coming in, and this is going to go to trial. But people are so quick to get their emotions in this type of case, and I get it. It's an unfortunate event that really did not need to happen. There were errors on both sides. The cops never should have had her go shut the stove off. They could have just done that themselves. There was two of them. Yes. But that's not what happened. They were just unable to tell if she was actually a threat to them or not. And unfortunately, she lost her life in the process. They immediately called for aid. They immediately said that shots were fired. Yes, he told them not to perform life-saving measures. Her face was kind of missing at that point. So I don't know all of the details surrounding that, but the moments leading up to the shooting and the actual shooting may actually be considered justified. So they are going to go to court over this. They are going to be heard by a jury of their peers, and people will decide. I would like to maybe compare this slightly towards the Breonna Taylor situation. People were definitely outraged by that. The people were calling those cops killers, murderers, this, that, and the other. They all got acquitted because they were shooting in self-defense. And that's one thing that people have to realize, is these cops were acting in self-defense. They had no way of knowing if she had a weapon at her hands below that counter. This all happened within a matter of seconds, literally seconds. So they had to decide instantly. And unfortunately, they made a deadly decision. But I don't know if it was an unjust, deadly decision. So with that being said, this is how a lawyer is going to argue it. I'm actually in school studying law, and I would like to become a criminal defense attorney. So if I was this person's lawyer, this is exactly how I would argue this case. So I'm not trying to make waves, but I want people to understand that you guys really should take the emotion out of the situation and stop viewing it as a black on white police brutality when it was a life or death situation potentially, and these cops did not know and they just had to react.
May I say something before we even get into this entire thing? Did you guys hear the lady is literally studying to become a lawyer and then she's going to be defending criminals? I guess you see the type of people, I'm not gonna generalize, but I guess you guys see that the times that we are in are indeed evil. And someone is literally willing to justify a murder. And she say if she was the person that was behind all of this case, she would give this explanation and this argument. Even when we are left with a question, that which footage did she watch that showed Sonya launching at the officers with a pot of boiling water? In the first place, she was not even near the stove. And this dude notices a pot that is so far away from her, and she's busy trying to find the IDs and the paperwork and all of that. And dude is like, go get that, we don't want a fire started here. She goes by their direction to lift the pot and put it in the sink. And then she sees them backing off. And she asks a question, why are you backing off? And they say something about the water. And she's like, oh, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. So this woman literally is trying to say that Sonya, following the directions that were given to her to go get the pot off the stove, was intentionally going to launch at the officers with a boiling pot. And then when she's, because whatever is going on here, it's very, very interesting, I can't lie. She says, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus, and that is already irritating, because he's a vessel that has already been taken over. Like, the master has already taken over him, and he's not himself anymore. So anything indeed can irritate him right now. And she goes ahead to apologize, and she says, I am sorry. And he says, I will blow your head. She backs and ducks down just like a normal human being would do in a situation where you are threatened. And this lady is like, for her to duck down, that is another weapon. Because officers, again, they can't see your hands. And they think you probably have a weapon that you are going to use to attack them. So they are trying to act in self-defense. In self-defense of a woman that is on the ground, that is not getting up, raising her hands to show anything that she has in her hands as a threat. And the same lady said in her words, that Sonya was launching at them with a pot. And at the same time, she's the same person that says she's ducking down. So make it make sense. How do you duck down with a boiling pot? She's literally placed the pot down because she knows that now they think this is a threat. She puts the pot down still to show them, hey, I am no danger. Forgive me. I am sorry. Also considering the fact that this woman was already under threat, that she called for the same reason. She called the police because she felt unsafe. And she thought she's gonna be safe. Then she calls them intentionally wanting to attack them. When I say demons dwell in bodies that look charming, and whenever you find such faces, you might be like, oh, I have met an angel in life. You won't believe me until when you watch someone gaslighting a situation and say this is not a white on black crime, because I am wondering if it was again a white woman. I don't want to make it about race, but everything is about race. We all know that if it was a white woman that was docking down, they would not shoot her. So a lady that was already going through an episode, she has schizophrenia, and she's on medicine. She is already afraid. In that instant, the only way she thinks she can survive is dog down, so that you do not threaten these people, so they don't come for you. But they came for her anyway. Anybody that tries to justify this cold-blood murder, they deserve to be judged with the same person that committed the murder. I don't know what else to say. But if she one day has to become a lawyer and she defends criminals, the black community is in trouble. Because we do have demons that are so actively after us, whether you believe it or not. Also, can we talk about how she justifies the officer stopping his fellow officer to actually bring the kids to come and help the lady? Because again, according to her, damage is already done. There's no need to do anything. It is okay. Even when this lady could have been saved, because yes, breathing was still hard in the background. And also we are talking about an officer that intentionally had his body come off because he knew what he was about to do. And unfortunately, I think he forgot to tell his mate about that. And this same officer, when he calls for help, he's like, that bitch is crazy, when he knows he's literally blown and taken her life. Oh my God. Again, guys, look at the footage very well. You're going to notice that whatever she's saying, there's no justification. This is insane. And again, be careful, because yes, demons dwell amongst us, and yes, they dress those beautiful bodies. Put your thoughts in the comment section. Let me know, was the murder of this lady, Sonya Massey, justifiable by any means? Could you even say anything? Could you even come and speak this in front of the grieving family? Could you? Was it justifiable? Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. I'll see you in another video. My name is Gracie. I love you all. Stay safe.